Have you ever wondered what exactly happens after sex? For example, if you're trying to conceive or if you're even trying to avoid trying to conceive, what exactly happens after sex? How does fertilization take place and how does a whole baby come into the picture? So in this video, I'm going to take you through an incredible journey in a very simplified manner so that you can understand this whole entire process and be empowered and know or understand your body, especially if you are a lady. And if you're a man, if you're a gentleman and you'll be watching this video, you will know exactly what to expect. And if you're not trying to conceive, then you know what to do. So without further ado, let us just run through some notes and just take a second, subscribe to this video and just give us a thumbs up. It is free. So let us just get straight to the point. So guys, I've titled this a tutorial, the science of conception, everything that happens after sex. And this presentation is going to take you through a fascinating or an incredible journey through the world of conception, and we are going to explore the steps that lead to the creation of a baby or of a new life. So get ready, take your notebook if you have to, or just earphones so that you can hear more clearly. So what is the very first step? So what is conception? I would say, in a very simple way, conception is a process of a sperm cell from a man. That is a sperm. You've ever heard of a sperm that comes from a man, and it fertilizes an egg from a woman. So the man have a sperm and the woman has an egg, and this is the moment when a new life actually begins. When the sperm and the egg meet, fertilization takes place and a new life begins. So a new life doesn't begin when the pregnancy is showing. It begins when fertilization takes place. I know this is subject to debate, but this is what I believe, because this is it. This is the truth. So that is the moment when a new life begins. So tell us in the comment section, when do you think a new life begins? Do you think a new life begins when you can go and have an ultrasound and they can be able to visibly see the baby, or you believe, like me, really, when fertilization takes place, a new life begins? Tell us in the comment section. Yes, so that you can also hear your opinion. So once fertilization takes place, the fertilized egg will continue to develop and grow, and I'm gonna be taking you through those steps so that you can understand how does this fertilized egg become a baby, like how does it travel all the way, and what are all those steps. We're gonna talk about them in a very simple way so that you can understand. But before that, I think we need to talk about, let me move this one. Okay, let's talk about the ovulation process. Maybe you've ever heard about ovulation. So what is ovulation? So every month, a woman's body prepares for a potential pregnancy, and that is why our normal biological women were gifted with this gift of a menstrual cycle. Maybe you've ever heard of a period. That is one way of telling us that our bodies were created with that capability of preparing for a potential pregnancy. So during ovulation, the egg travels down the fallopian tube where it can be fertilized. You know that the eggs are normally in the ovary. They are released from the ovary, and then during ovulation, which is normally for most women who have an average cycle of maybe 28 days, during the mid-cycle, around day 13, day 14, thereby for women who have an average cycle of 28 days. If you have a shorter one, then your ovulation is gonna be maybe from day 7 or then maybe to about day 10. If you have a longer cycle than 28 days, then your ovulation is gonna be later, maybe from, I don't know, from date 14 onwards, 15, 16, depending on the length of your cycle. So during ovulation, the egg travels down the fallopian tube where it can be fertilized, and then the egg is released from the ovary. I told you it's made there, and then it is ready to be fertilized by a sperm cell. So when this egg, so assuming this is the ovary, when this egg is released, that is a mature egg, when it's released from the ovary, it's now out here, it is ready to be fertilized, and that process is called ovulation. No, the process of releasing a matured egg from the ovary ready to be fertilized, that process is called ovulation. And this is the time we say that it is a fertile window, that is, a woman is most likely, most very high chance of conceiving. Because I see a lot of you asking me there, I had intercourse day 8, day 9 of my cycle, am I going to get pregnant? I know if you are, maybe just to answer that, if you are 5 days, from 5 days to ovulation, then the chance is there's a chance of conceiving, because an egg and a sperm, because a sperm can stay alive in the reproductive, in the woman reproductive system for up to 5 days, waiting for an egg to be released during ovulation. So if you are trying to avoid pregnancy, then make sure that you are not having intercourse at least 5 days to ovulation, and just to be for that peace of mind, abstain for up to 8 days to ovulation, 8 days and another 2 days after ovulation, just to be safe and sure. But if you're trying to conceive, then start having more intercourse, at least 5 days to ovulation, and then keep doing it every day if you can until your ovulation, because that is the peak of your fertility window, and then another 2 days after ovulation, because after about 48 hours, this egg that has just been released is gonna disintegrate and it's gonna die. So if you're having intercourse after the egg has been released, after 48 hours after the egg has been released, the chance of conceiving falls drastically. So I hope I've tried to explain something. So let us go to the next slide, and here we're gonna talk about fertilization. So we've seen how ovulation has taken place. There is a sperm, So how does this fertilization take place? So sperm cells are released during sexual intercourse, and let me put this very clearly, because some of you ask me question like, I didn't have like the whole intercourse, but there was pre-cum. Disclaimer: pre-cum also contains sperm cells, and it can make you pregnant because there's sperm cells in the pre-cum. So sperm cells are released during sexual intercourse, and there are millions of cells travel through the vagina, cervix and uterus towards the fallopian tube. So let us just see the journey. Let me show you dramatically with a diagram how this looks like. So these are the sperms, the million of them. There are so many, so they will take this journey, all of them. This is the vagina, you can see. Here is the cervix, and this is the neck of the uterus. This is the uterus right here, fallopian tubes, and you can see this is the ovary, and this is the path. This is where you see the egg was released from here, and now it's gonna travel. Let us just go step by step. So here are your sperms. The sperms are during your man or your person has ejaculated millions of sperms. So these sperms are going to travel through the vaginal canal, through the cervix, and then enter the uterus. A lady has 2 ovaries. There's this one, ovary 1, and then there's ovary 2 right here. And for those ladies who get twins, fraternal twins, they may have released an egg from ovary 1 and another egg from ovary 2. That is why the twins will not be looking alike, because the eggs are different. There are 2 different eggs from the 2 fallopian tubes. But for an identical pregnancy. It could be this one egg, but then it splits into two. So it is one egg that splits into two, and that is how you get an identical twin pregnancy. So assuming this is just one egg has been released through here, so there is an egg, there is a mature egg on this left fallopian tube. So you can see these sperms are still going to continue this way, and then remember there was this egg here that was released here, and it also traveled to through the fallopian tube and stayed in this spot right here. And then there are these sperms coming also through the fallopian tube, and bang, they meet with the egg, and then fertilization take place. By fertilization, I mean one sperm manages to penetrate the egg. That is why when you look at this whole journey of, there were millions of sperms that were here, but only one manages to fertilize the egg. And this should tell you that you are so strong, because it's only the strongest of the sperm that can be able to win this race, because it's not normally an easy journey. As I'm trying just to explain this, there are so many hurdles that these sperms go through, and only the strongest and the best sperm fertilizes the egg. So that time when you're feeling so low, so helpless, so hopeless, and you don't even feel like you're important, remember that you are formed by a very strong sperm. So that should tell you that you are well capable, you are strong, and you can do it. So that is just a learning that always comes into my mind, and it's so amazing. So never forget that. So fertilization will take place around this place on the fallopian tube. So let us just go back to the lesson so that we can now see what happens after this fertilization has taken place. So if an egg is present, just one sperm will penetrate its outer layer. So two sperms cannot fertilize one egg. It always has to be one egg, one sperm. So the sperm's genetic material combines with the eggs, forming a single cell called a zygote. So when the head of the sperm penetrates the egg, the genetic material of the sperm fuses with the egg's genetic material, and when that fuse, they form a single cell called a zygote. So a zygote is formed at that junction. So what happens next? After fertilization, we've seen that now there's a zygote has formed, and we are going to go back to our diagram so that you can see how that happens. So after fertilization, the zygote begins its journey to the uterus. Now it's going back. It's only the sperm that went through the uterus, and now it's coming back as a zygote. Now the sperm and the egg have fused together, their genetic materials have fused together, and they've become a zygote. So this zygote now is moving from the fallopian tube and traveling back to the uterus, and the zygote begins its journey to the uterus, taking about 3 to 4 days, and then this zygote will again divide rapidly, forming a ball of cells called a blastocyst. So it's not even really a must you master these words. Just know that there's the zygote that is dividing. I know you've ever heard about something called cell division. You learned that in biology somewhere. So there's a lot of cell division that is taking place. I just feel like I'm back in class embryology guys. So the zygote is dividing, and it has now formed a blastocyst. So let us go back to our diagram and we see how this actually happens. So guys, as you can see, it has taken day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and now around day 4 it's now entering the uterus, and when it divides into 8 cells, as you can see, it now becomes a morula, and now this morula is traveling again around day 5. It's still dividing, subdividing, and now it becomes a blastocyst. Like, for example, there's a lot of other developmental small milestones that I'm not just going to discuss in here because it's going to get a little bit complicated. But around day 8, day 9, that's when the blastocysts implants. And around this time, it's when now you can actually start seeing a positive pregnancy test. So the blastocyst is implanting, and by implanting I mean it's burrowing itself in the uterine wall, so that it can start forming, so that now it can start developing and growing and becoming the baby. So that is the journey. So this is the journey. The egg meet around here, the egg and the sperm meet around here. It takes several days. Around these days, now this is when some women feel cramping, because the egg and the sperm, now the fertilized egg, is actually moving along the fallopian tube, and you can feel some cramping all of these days. If you're very sensitive, if you have a body that is so sensitive, you're gonna feel some cramping. And around here, around the time that implantation is taking place, you may get something that is called implantation bleeding. But this does not always happen to all women. Not everyone gets implantation bleeding. There's so many videos that I've done, because some women may get this bleeding. As you can see, guys, it's almost near your next menstrual cycle, because can you guys see? So assuming the ovulation took place around day 14, and now all of these days up to day, add 9 days here. So 14 plus 9, as you can see, guys, this is like day 23, almost towards your next period, which should be coming in the next maybe 3, 4, 5 days. So some women confuse implantation bleeding with period, but implantation bleeding is really light. If you would want to check out the videos that I've done, there are so many. The implantation bleeding is light, and it comes for a few days, not like the normal period. So guys, that is just exactly the simple process. I've really tried to explain in simple terms what really happens during the implantation process, how the fertilized egg travels until it is implanted in here. So let us just continue. We are almost done, guys. So we've covered this. So that is the journey, attachment, and then implantation. I've talked about that. So let us see now what happens next. So now that blastocyst is going to continue dividing, and it's gonna form something called an embryo. I know you've ever had an embryo. So this embryo is going to start developing organs and tissues, and that includes a heartbeat. That is when maybe during the very first few weeks, around week 6, week 8, you can be able to hear a heartbeat of the baby. So that is why we cannot say that life starts when you can hear heartbeat, because all of this is just there was a starting point until here, but it was alive. So everything is living, everything is developing and growing from the time the egg meets with the sperm. So the embryo continues to grow and develop, and now it becomes a fetus. So guys, are you following, or is this a little bit complicated? Let me know. I've really tried to simplify. So by 8 weeks, most major organs are formed, and that is why if you are trying to conceive, or if you are trying to conceive, it is always good to start taking your prenatal vitamins, because you can see, guys, by 8 weeks, that is just 2 months, the organs of your fetus have already developed. And if you didn't have enough reserves, for example, of folic acid and all of those other really important nutrients and micronutrients. It's always good to have those reserves so that your baby can develop healthy organs. As you can see, by 8 weeks, all major organs have formed, the heart, and that is why when you go to the hospital and have an ultrasound, you can be able to hear a heartbeat. By 12 weeks, the fetus is beginning to move, and that is about that. This is 3 months actually. So by 20 weeks, let me move this one. By 20 weeks, the fetus can hear sounds from the outside world, and that is why moms, you're told to speak to your child, speak to your growing baby. By 20 weeks, this is around 5 months. The baby can be able to hear your voice. That is why when they are born, they can be able to identify their mother's voice, their father's voice. They can respond to some certain songs that they could hear when they were still in the uterus. It is a really amazing journey, and by week 40 the fetus is ready to be born. So let us not go through the role of the placenta, because I just wanted to show you how everything takes place from at the time you have sex all the way to how a whole baby is created, how a new life forms, and how a fetus is actually comes about. So this is such an amazing process, as you've seen, and it involves a lot of complex events, and you've seen that and you've attested that it is a lot. So if you're trying to conceive, remember what we've talked about: ovulation, the days of ovulation, your fertile window. If you're not trying to conceive, remember what we've talked about. And if you're trying to conceive, so remember what we've talked about and take the precautionary measures. So that's it, guys. Please subscribe and like this video, and I'll see you in our next lecture.